You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the weekly Keep Canada Weird discussion series. If you're new here, Keep Canada Weird is a venue in which my pal Aaron Airport and I seek out and explore the more offbeat news stories that played out over the past week. In tonight's episode, which we recorded on January 16th of 2024, Aaron and I find ourselves in the uncomfortable position of balancing weird and sexy. We're going to hear about the tractor that was pulled out of a historic building in Seaforth a little later than many would have liked. We're going to talk about the couple from Regina who had to pay a significant price to win a sexy couple competition in the Dominican. And we're left hot and bothered by the mystery of how a Canadian military memo warning its members about using a specific sex worker has led to said sex worker being flooded with attention. Let's get into it. Handsome Aaron Airport. Before we begin, how have you been? What's new? What's going on?
What's going on? Nothing, man. Just living life and trying to stay out of jail.
Yeah, that's about all you can hope for in 2024, the year of nuttiness. How's it been? We're now 16 days into it. I would say this year so far has been, for me, fantastic. The weather is great this year. I haven't gotten sick or anything this year.
Okay. Anything else you want to brag about, or what's?
I look fine this year. I've shaved a lot this year, so I feel like I look a little younger.
Well, this is a podcast, so the listeners will have to take your word for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, better not research that one. It may be some fake news being spouted.
Yeah, you do look freshly shaven today, though.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
You don't.
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm. No. Enough about our facial hair. Let's get into it. We're here to keep Canada weird, and we got a collection of stories this week that I think is going to make it easy. This has been a weird week in Canadiana, and not only is it the country doing its own work to keep itself weird, but we've really had our listeners, members of the Keep Canada Weird Army, step up and fan the flames of weird for us. We got a lot of voice memos this week. How should we just front load a bunch of them or drop them throughout? How do you want to handle that?
Let's listen to two up front.
Are you sure?
And then we can sprinkle the rest throughout where it feels like it's needed.
Okay. And one of the voice memos lead us right into a story, so I'll use one of those as the front loaders. And oddly enough, I don't think we've been talking about Tim Hortons a lot on the show, but a lot of the voice memos this week, maybe all of them, relate to Tim Hortons.
Yeah. Well, when we even remotely mention the word Tim Hortons, the name Tim Hortons,
the name, yeah.
The words, yeah. It really strikes a chord in the listening audience, and it really brings up a lot of emotion in them.
Yeah.
And emotion then conjures response.
Yeah, it's true. Before I play the voice memos, though, we talked a while back about how Tim Hortons was temporarily relaunching their retro donut collection. Have you had a chance to try any of them?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I've tried all of them. There is the blueberry.
I know, because you actually go to Tim Hortons every day.
At least once a day. There is a blueberry fritter. There's some kind of cinnamon twist thing that's pretty good. There's the Dutchie. I actually had one today for dessert after supper. And there is the walnut crunch, which they had last year.
They brought that back last year. I was kind of, that's kind of a cheap one.
Yeah.
You know,
wake me up when you do something interesting.
Yeah.
I've had incredible luck getting my hands on these retro donuts. Not everyone has been as fortunate as me to get these donuts. Listen to the story of Katie getting effed at Tim Hortons. I don't want to say that word. Yeah, she got effed. You'll see what I mean.
Okay.
Here it comes.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. This is Katie. I am calling from Ontario. I used to live in Halifax, actually. I'm calling you from the Tim Hortons drive-thru. I guess I'm sort of going undercover for the nighttime pod. I'm calling because I thought I would stop and get a tea and a Dutchie donut. And after waiting about 20 minutes in the drive-thru line, I was told they are all out of Dutchies. So my question is, why are they promoting something that they can't even meet the supply and demand for? Anyway, thank you so much for your podcast, and keep keeping Canada weird.
The question is, why would Tim Hortons promote something that they can't meet the demand for and they can't sell it? My answer to that is because nothing they do in terms of marketing or advertising makes any sense, so they might as well promote something that they don't have in stock. They've done weirder things than that. Give me a break, Katie.
Well, Katie, you're going undercover. I hope that was your reason for going through a Tim Hortons drive-through to begin with, was only for keeping Canada weird work purposes.
She would have sent the receipt over to me.
Yeah, and has she?
No, I'm sure. Well, because they didn't have the donut, so she ended up getting a tea just on her own. That has nothing to do with her work here.
Yeah. I just don't want to see listeners who I love and care for put themselves in harm's way by getting too close to Tim Hortons.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm worried that Katie did that, and then was then in turn disappointed in the result. But Tim Hortons, what time of day was it?
Well, she waited 20 minutes in the drive-through. I'm thinking that's the morning.
Yeah, if it's the morning, then they should have the donut. It's, when you go in the evening, I can see things being hit or miss.
Yeah.
In terms of what's left over.
You ever wait 20 minutes in the drive-through for it, though? I don't think so.
Well, I look at the cars before I make the decision.
Yeah.
I look at the length of the lineup. I use my judgment. And my judgment always tells me if I'm waiting any more than 5 minutes in a Tim Hortons drive-through, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah,
so
good point.
That's how I look at it.
Katie, thank you for putting your neck out for the show. If you do manage to get your greasy mitts on a Dutchie or any of the other retro donuts, or have any other experience at Tim Hortons that's notable, we'd love to hear about it. And yes, you can send me your receipt for reimbursement. Let's get on to the next one. And this voice memo is going to walk us right into our first story of the night. And this one is a story that I completely missed. You completely missed. I had not caught any wind of this, but it is an amazing story that's coming out of Seaforth, Ontario. A listener gets his hip to this. Listen to this story. And it was sent as an anonymous voice message. So whoever sent this voice message, if you want to email me and let me know who you are, I'll send you a little something as a thank you. Here it comes.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. I just wanted to call in to let you know about a weird Canadian news story that happened near my small town. Happened in Seaforth, Ontario, which is a small farming community in southern Ontario. What happened was on October 13th, a tractor ran a red light. It was a Friday evening, and it crashed into the front of a historic building on Main Street. And the driver proceeded to flee the scene, and the tractor remained in the front of that building for about 2.5 months until it was able to be safely removed. It was quite the small town site. If you were walking around on foot, the street was closed to traffic, which was quite a pain. But I thought this might be a good segment for your Keep Canada Weird. So keep it up, guys, and all the best.
A young guy driving a tractor carrying like a regular kind of John Deere farm tractor, carrying or towing two large, like commercial looking trailers, ends up jamming his tractor into the building and fleeing and all that stuff, as you heard. But what really made it complicated was the tractor hitting the building caused structural damage, which basically left the entire building kind of resting on the roof of the tractor. And if they pulled the tractor out, the building could have collapsed. So they had to wait to deal with that. But then to make matters even more complicated, they found the building was full of asbestos, which also makes it, the cleanup and the recovery of the tractor even more difficult. And again, where this is right downtown, they couldn't have people just roaming around. So they had to block off the main street for like 2 months. It's finally settled. I'm going to play you a news story that was just published, I think mid-December, when they managed to get the tractor out of the building. And this is one of the types of news stories you love because they're talking to a whole bunch of small town Canadians in this one. Here it comes.
Yeah.
A cheer from an assembled throng of onlookers greets the removal of a tractor embedded in a building in downtown Seaforth since mid-October.
That's kind of exciting for the town of Seaforth. Never had so much excitement.
But you're not looking, you don't want this kind of excitement again.
No, not really. That's enough for 1 year or a whole bunch of years, I guess.
Slowly and methodically, the John Deere tractor was tugged, pulled, and maneuvered out of the front of the Remax Realty storefront it became embedded in on October the 13th. That night, a tractor driven by a 23-year-old Huron East resident careened off Seaforth's Main Street into the front of the two-story brick building. The tractor has been holding the structure up ever since, until today, when braces were installed to carry the weight of the building and allow for the meticulous removal of the tractor.
It was close up top. Good thing they let the air out of the tires, because I don't think it would have come out unless they did.
Not only was this a spectacle that many people came out to watch, this is a huge relief for many downtown businesses who have been dealing with a Main Street closure for 55 days. But who's counting?
Yeah, no, it has definitely impacted the businesses in the main street, and yeah, finally, like a building has been lifted off of my shoulders of my tractor.
The plan for the damaged building, believed to be Seaforth's first ever and oldest brick building, is for it to be fixed up and reopened. Well, that may take some time, but having the tractor gone and the downtown fully open again is a huge relief for Seaforth residents who aren't eager to see any more tractor pulls on their main street.
It was neat to see it come out, and it's going to be good to get the street back opened up and people flowing back into the businesses here in town.
It needs to get the street open so the businesses can get going again. And although it was kind of nice walking across the street without having to worry about traffic.
The 23-year-old tractor driver has been charged with careless driving, failing to stop at a red light, and failing to remain at the scene of a crash.
That's the kind of story I love.
Yeah, well, why?
I think it's the reason I love it is because no one gets hurt. It's absurd. It includes lots of kind of regular small town Canadians, the kind that I think I can relate to most. This just seems to me like, and it's so easy to for this story to completely miss the story like we did. Were it not for that anonymous listener getting us hip to this, I never would have known about something like this. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, I really like the guy in the audio clip, the random towns guy. And it's like, oh, it's the most exciting thing that's happened to this town all year, hopefully the most exciting thing in years, hopefully.
Yeah, it's one of those silly things, but I don't know how it happens, and the idea, like how the 23-year-old managed to drive the tractor into the building, who knows? He's charged with all these things, so God knows what he was up to. But to think that it takes like 2 months to get it out is kind of wild. Where when in the video, you see the recovery, where you see them pull out the tractor, and really it looks like all they did was use some wood to kind of like brace the building with something to hold the wood up, and then they flattened the tires of the tractor, so the tractor sunk down, the wood carried the weight of the building, and they pulled the tractor out.
Why didn't they do this right away though? Like, it seems like okay, the tractor is embedded into the building. Now the tractor has now become load bearing, and we need to figure out a way to get it out. But like, it seems like the way that they did it seemed like the way that they probably thought to do it right away. But why they didn't do it right away, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is weird that it took that long, but yeah, I don't know. It's in a bigger city, that's just like a small town thing. In a bigger city, that never would have lasted, I don't think. People wouldn't stand for like a main street being shut down for this. It's not even a big tractor. It's like a bit bigger than a motorcycle by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's not huge. I really wish we could get more information on the guy who fled, the guy who ran off.
23-year-old. Why would he be driving a tractor?
Well, he
to
was
a
hauling
main street,
something, right? He was hauling trailers or something,
But it also, he had two big trailers that looked empty in the photos I saw. But I think it was on a Friday night. So 23-year-old
were the trailers
guy,
filled with booze, or what was the
booze and people partying?
just trailers of prostitutes and cocaine and guns
Yeah,
and whatever.
in Seaforth, Ontario.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't.
All the corn is picked for the year, so now let's wild through downtown.
Yeah. I'm just wondering why I mean, if he's going to flee, he's going to get caught no matter what. It's a small town. Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows it's
Yeah, and he's
his
leaving his
tractor. Like,
tractor.
it's not like you're hiding here. So what
Well,
what did he think was going to happen?
Who knows if this is why he did it, but a common reason people flee the scene of accidents is so they can buy some time before they are forced to take a like a alcohol test, blood alcohol content, breathalyzer
that makes
sort
sense.
of thing.
Yeah, he's drunk and he's like, I'm just going to go and sleep this off and then
Until I'm not drunk, and then I'll talk to them. It could be something like that. I think the Seaforth Business District is probably not very happy with him.
No. His career now of driving a tractor is over in that town.
Mm-hmm. So shame on you. Thank you to the listener for sharing this story. And for everyone else listening, if there's some weird little thing like this going on in your town, let us know. I like this.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one. We got a couple stories here, and I don't know how you want to slice this. Are we going to talk about the military warning its members to not hire the sex worker who's offering a discount to military service members? Do we want to talk about what seems to be straight out of the X-Files situation in Saskatchewan? Or should we get into the sexy game that goes very wrong for a Regina couple?
Well, there's a lot of sexy stuff in these stories.
Really? Oh, there is. There's back-to-back sexual stories.
So let's use the sexy stories as the bread, and we'll sandwich the non-sexy story in the middle,
which is the X-Files story.
Yeah. So let's start with what you think is the sexiest story.
I say the sexier story is the story of the sexy game gone wrong for this Regina couple. This story,
I disagree with that.
Well, the other one's literally about sex.
That's what makes it so sexy.
Yeah, but if they're just giving it away.
She's not giving it away. It's a discount.
We're doing the sexy game gone wrong. Let's do it. This is I'm excited for this one. I just want to get into it. This story I like because one common thing that we see in the news a lot, I don't know if this is just a Canadian thing or if it's an around the world thing, but it's these sort of like complicated complaining about company stories where it's like, they're sitting down at someone's couch and they're explaining why, they got screwed by the bank and they didn't know this thing was a part of the deal. And usually the news report ends with like, and we contacted the bank and the bank agreed to give them their discount, or something like that. This story kind of comes across as a bit of one of those. It involves a Regina couple that was hurt during a vacation in the Dominican Republic. They're kind of telling their story as a way to fight against Sunwing, who they booked the vacation through, as well as the actual resort in the Caribbean. But to tell their story, there's certainly embarrassing moments, and maybe moments you normally wouldn't see someone on the news describing. I'll set it up that way. Here's the video. And no blushing over there, Aaron.
I'm already. Well, I mean, you're the one that finds this one painfully sexy. This is just the one that you're going to be going to bed tonight, and this is all that's going to be on your mind. Is just
here it comes.
Herniated discs.
So every night at the resort, they either have like a dance or games or karaoke, and so they'll pull you up on stage to do these things, and you really can't decline. But me and my fiance, we were newly engaged. I'm like a go-getter type of girl. Like, I'm not afraid of much. So they're asking for couples to go up on stage, and up to this point, we've been competing in like dance competitions, darts competitions, like all these things, and we're winning. So I was like, Brighton, we're going on stage right now. We're going to do this. And so we went up on the stage, which, they immediately told us what we were doing. There was 3 other couples with us. And so they wanted us to find who in their words, sexiest couple was. So immediately we were like, oh no, like what did we sign up for? So it involved a dance competition where my fiance had to sexy dance, they called it, and get down on one knee and sing with no music. He just had to sing. The next one was a performance for the both of us dancing. He had to perform a lift. That was scary. And then the third one was the balloon popping competition where unfortunately I was severely injured. And that was the final one. So we had to perform positions that they made. So all three couples had gone before us. So one of the positions, you had to run up to each other and pop a balloon with your chest. The next one was the male was sitting on a chair and the female had to come and sit and pop the balloon on his lap. And then the next one was they want the women to bend over a chair and then the male come up and pop the balloon from the back. And then the last one was on a mattress where you had to sit and pop the balloon on the male. So we did the first two with no problems. Everything was going great. We were having lots of fun. And then it was time for me to like bend over the chair. And it was supposed to just be my fiance coming behind me to pop the balloon. But all of the entertainment staff followed behind him as fast as they could, which caused me to push all the way down to the bottom of the chair. It's called hyperextension. Immediately I felt pain in my knees. I didn't feel it in my hips at all. I was on such an adrenaline high, but when they all got off me, I was honestly like stuck in the chair. I couldn't figure out how to get like popped back out to get out of the chair. And immediately after getting out of the chair, I looked at one of them. I was like, I'm hurt, like I'm really hurt. And they just dismissed me. We had to carry on, which I was able to do so, I fully believe, because of adrenaline and not fully understanding what happened. And then as soon as the last position was done, like there was tears in my eyes and I went up to the staff and I was like, I'm hurt. I'm holding my knees, telling them I'm hurt. And they just laughed and continued on. We then had to stand on stage for like 20 more minutes standing, and my legs are shaking for them to get the crowd to vote on who won. We did end up winning, but it was not worth it in my opinion. I wish we would have never gone up on stage, and I feel like it would be a lot different if they would have asked or told us or even put my knees up on the chair, but there was no consent given anywhere, no warning. They didn't do it to any other couple, just us.
I hate videos and pictures of people being injured. In this one, like although we joked as it started, it is an ugly injury that she appears to have. Do you want to describe, like for someone who's just hearing her describe it? I don't think it does the trick of showing what actually happens. Do you want to explain what we see happen to this poor woman?
It looks like she's bent over the chair, like she's holding on to the arms of the chair, and then she's bent over the chair with kind of her butt sticking out. Mm-hmm. And she's got the balloon like in between her thighs, I guess, is kind of where it's at. And so the husband is supposed to thrust into her to try and bust the balloon, and then the entire entertainment staff that looked to be all male to me.
Oh, and they're all bigger than her husband. They all run behind.
They're all charging towards her husband to try and create enough force to send him into the balloon and pop it. And it literally looks like it bends her in half, like into
the wrong way.
The wrong way. Yeah, like her pelvis goes into the bend of the chair. But her knee. When I watched it carefully, it looks like the husband kind of grabbed her hips, and he had his weight on her hips through his hands, and when he got pushed from behind, all of that weight went right on her hips. So she just bent the wrong way, and then finishes the competition. Being on the news, like telling that story,
she does a good job because it is a little like I think it would be a bit embarrassing to have to describe that on the news. But then also like, does it take a bit of wind out of her complaint by and we like it sounds like she's describing a great time and she won it as well, which is like they included all that in the news clip. But I don't know. I don't know where this takes me.
Well, it's tricky because who's responsible here is the question that gets asked in this news
Yeah.
footage, and who holds the ultimate responsibility for this accident. So
Mhm.
what was it, Sunwing that she booked through?
Yeah, so she's going after someone to take responsibility. The resort seemed to want nothing to do with her, like they didn't do anything. So she went after Sunwing, and Sunwing is saying like, we booked your vacation, but we're not responsible for what
Yeah,
happens on the
they're
resort,
not our employees.
which
That
makes
yeah,
sense.
which makes
No,
sense. Like Sunwing is just
yeah,
we're
but
just a
if
booking
you're
company, you know.
yeah, if you're in her position, it's way easier to go after Sunwing, who's probably the bigger company than whoever owns that resort. And they would have like a Canadian or an American
Yeah,
presence,
like
unlike the resort. So I think, to go after the resort is going to be a hell of a lot harder to go after Sunwing. So I think to go on the news and like complain about Sunwing is probably going to get you further. If you want to go after the resort, you straight up are going to have to like get a lawyer and file a lawsuit in the Dominican Republic, which
yeah, it
yeah,
sounds
you're
impossible, I would say.
yeah.
I can't see anything ever coming from that.
Mhm.
So this is probably a situation where nothing's going to come of any of her efforts
No,
to get anyone to claim responsibility for this.
I agree. She gets to spit in the face of Sunwing on TV, which is good. It seems like she's not going to have any permanent injuries, hopefully, which of course is good. She's certainly going to have a story to tell. But the whole thing, as being as it's described, like being at this event, being brought up on stage to go in these like embarrassing competitions, to me that sounds like absolute hell. I would never do that. Would you? Like, I think maybe you're the more outgoing publicly one of the two of us. Would you get into
I
this sort
would
of thing?
do it, but I don't know. I mean, after watching this, I would certainly be hesitant to do any balloon popping, sexy games.
It's not even sexy. Like how hard you can thrust like into a balloon. Like this sounds ridiculous.
Well, whoever thrusts the hardest is the sexiest, right?
I
That's how I
guess.
was always taught growing up. If you
Yeah,
can
well,
thrust hard,
like hard
then
enough to pop a balloon.
yeah, then that's hot.
Uh,
That's super hot.
yeah, and I think this staff of this resort, they were just getting in on the party, I guess, by doing this. They weren't thinking anyone was going to get hurt, but
And they've
that's
probably
how.
done this a million times before,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
was just
seriously, but
just kind of the way the chips fell in this particular incident.
yeah, this is how places get sued, though. If you're gonna touch people
Yeah,
or do anything remotely physical, you're just asking to get sued.
you just can't touch the customers. That should be the first rule of business is we don't touch the customers unless I'm a masseuse or something.
What a strange story. I think if I was in her position, I would probably just cut my losses,
Yeah, cut your losses, you know,
be done with it.
just recovery is also sexy. Just focus on recovering,
Hmm.
and then you'll be the world's sexiest patient.
Uh, Perfect segue because our next story involves patients. It involves hospitals. Uh, I don't know what attracted me so much to this story, other than I'm a huge fan of the X-Files. I've always been a fan of the X-Files. And when I read this story, in my head, it is like the way X-Files always started, they call it like a cold open. Like there's a scene that'll play out before even the intro for X-Files airs, and it just shows like a 1 minute little bit of chaos, and then the rest of the show is generally trying to figure out, what happened during that 1 minute cold open or what led to that. The story of the Weyburn Hospital in Saskatchewan, it kind of reminded me of the opening scene of an X-Files episode. Basically, this past Friday, just before noon, fire crews were dispatched to the Weyburn Hospital to investigate complaints of an odd chemical smell that was circulating through the building. When responders were unable to identify the source of the strong and nauseous smell, all the staff and patients of the Weyburn Hospital were forced to evacuate. But what the cause would end up being is a bit of a surprise.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority says 22 patients, along with all staff members at the Weyburn General Hospital, had to be evacuated after a reported gas leak. According to Weyburn's fire chief, at around 11:30 this morning, some of the patients noticed what smelled like gas and told the staff members. That's when the Weyburn Fire Department was called in along with Sask Energy. The SHA says its immediate priority was ensuring patient safety, evacuating patients and hospital staff, and putting EMS on standby to support the patients who were taken to local care homes. After further investigation, the fire chief says it was not in fact a gas leak. Instead, he says the result of a smell was caused by a patient who came into the hospital directly from working in the oil field.
That odor spread throughout the building with the assistance of the HVAC system within the building. The crews have isolated and contained the contaminated clothing. The patient is under care by the staff at the hospital.
The SHA says it will provide an update once the building has been cleared to reopen. In the meantime, anyone in the community who is requiring urgent or emergent care is being asked to call 911 or travel to the nearest hospital outside of the city.
So the clip we just heard there aired on the 13th of January, which was just this past Saturday. The hospital ended up staying closed for a full day before reopening. But for somebody to smell so bad that it actually causes the hospital to be shut down for a day and all patients and staff evacuated, that must be a god-awful smell. What did this man have on him? Could it be something from another, not of this earth, if it smells that bad? To clear a hospital out.
Well, I'm sure if you're coming fresh off of a shift, in some kind of an oil sands type working environment, yeah, you're going to smell exactly like they describe this smell as being, and it's...
I don't know. Did you ever get like gas on your leg or something when you're pumping gas and you get back in your car and it stinks?
It carries with you for a while, doesn't it?
But it does. But does it like spread through a hospital stink? And I've seen pictures of this hospital.
No.
It's not a small little building.
No, but I mean, you're working in oil and gas all day, and it's on your clothes. Like your uniform that you're wearing always smells like this. Like
that must be hell.
Yeah, I guess. But
so you don't think there's anything unexplainable, mysterious happening here? You think it's just a man who stunk so bad from working in the oil fields that it contaminated the air in an entire hospital?
Yeah, it sounds like exactly what happened. And
wow.
I would hate to be the man that was told he smelled so bad that he cleared the hospital.
Maybe. But I guess, natural gas and leaks and stuff, that is a touchy topic. So I could also see someone smelling like a gas smelling, being kind of concerned and calling, fire responders or, fire department or 911 or whatever. And just out of an abundance of caution, they clear the hospital. Yeah. I guess I could see that happening. You don't want to take chances with that sort of thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's like we're here recording in Nova Scotia and we don't have like a natural gas oil fields kind of industry that's booming. So I'm a bit ignorant about this stuff. But to me, I see this as a story where a day or 2 days later, Fox Mulder and Dana Scully receive a report about this incident, and Mulder doesn't believe that it was simply the smell of oil sands. Goes on to investigate and finds links between this case and unexplained objects seen in the sky around this town over the past 75 years. And it's all connected.
Yeah. I think the issue with this story is your perception of it.
Okay.
I think you're just reaching and grasping for straws here.
Oh.
Paranormal straws that don't exist.
May or may not be there.
Yeah.
So is what you're saying we should get back to the sexy stuff?
I think it's really unattractive for you to be like this. It's not
Really?
sexy. No.
Oh my God.
And the listeners want sexy. They want people getting back injuries from sexy games. And you know what else they want? Is they want sexy sex workers giving discounts to the military.
Well, that's actually a good story because the next one involves a sex worker who is giving discounts to military members.
What?
This one, what a coincidence. This story, I think if you follow the news in Canada, it's probably come across your news feed at some point. It's been shared all over, it seems. Everybody seems to be covering it because it's so salacious and crazy. I've probably gotten 10 emails from people telling me about this story. But ultimately, what it comes down to is the military defense. The military police are threatening to charge a sex worker who offers discounts to Canadian soldiers, and senior leaders of the military issued a communication to all its members warning their troops to stay away from the Kingston area woman. So this woman lives near a military base in Kingston and advertises her services largely to military members, again, including a 25% discount for military members. So again, when the brass threatens her by saying, if we're going to sue you or have you charged, because I think she released some photos, like pornographic photos that kind of look like she was wearing a military uniform, and there must be some law that's in breach of. So they had threatened to charge her for that. But again, they issued a press or kind of like a memo to all the people stationed on that base saying, to stay away from her. As you could probably imagine, is this all backfired on the Canadian military, where the sex worker, her real name is Christina Gilchrist. She claims that she is now inundated with messages from military personnel that are interested in the services she provides, and traffic to her website has gone up by 6,000%, basically. So the whole thing, your boss says, don't do this. Don't have sex with this person that's going to offer you 25% off. Maybe not going to dissuade everybody.
Yeah, it's like, there's the big red button. Don't push it.
Don't push that red button.
Don't push it.
And how many guys, like military, like these single military guys stationed in this base away from, I just feel like that memo is just reminding all the members of this opportunity or this option they have just outside the door of their military base. And it seems like maybe that option was too much for a lot of them to bear because, again, she's blown up. I've looked at her Instagram and stuff, and she's like thanking the military in all her posts.
Yeah. You were just looking at her Instagram.
Well, I
then
wrote
the
to
story,
her as well.
and then the story broke, and you're like, oh.
Weird. Oh, same girl.
Oh.
No, I wrote to her. She's
you wrote to her and said, I'm in the military.
No, that's not what I did. I wrote to her and said, if you have free time, or if you have time, I would love to talk to you about this story, and we may do an episode together. So I don't want to get way deep into the weeds.
Sure.
I may have something coming, but I'm sure she's pulled in 1,000 directions. That's not supposed to be like a joke.
No.
But I just think this idea of them releasing a memo to have it just blow right back in their face. Of course it did. Who thought that was a good idea?
Oh, it's so like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the teaching assistant who had the OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
And then it just, all it did was bring all of this publicity to her OnlyFans account and gave her all this momentum. And similar situation here. It's like, you tell the little kids not to eat candy. All they're going to want to do is eat candy. And
Certainly.
And like,
yeah.
who cares if she's like, she says like she's like the military aspect of this is a fetish of hers, and she offers a discount to military personnel as part of her kind of sexual exploration, and like to try and demean it or take it away or charge her in any way, it's just nonsense. Like, and they're not going to win any favors by doing that.
No, I think if they were going to charge her. Don't like say you're going to, because that just gives everyone something to talk about. And if they really wanted their members to avoid this, they wouldn't tell all their members about this situation.
Yeah, it's like, well, I didn't know she was there, but now I know, and now I know she's giving discounts to people like me. So yeah, I'm gonna give her a call.
What a bunch of fools.
Yeah. No, all power to her. I hope she continues on with her, military might. And
do you want to plug her website?
What is the website? I can't.
I only asked you that because it's so funny. Her website is for soldiers.
Is it?
I just thought that was kind of funny because it gets this situation's being covered in the news, but none of them want to write for soldiers, so they will like abbreviate it or put stars in there and stuff.
Okay.
Are you going on the website?
Yeah, I'm gonna go now. And
all right.
Soldiers. Okay.
Let's give us a review here for people who don't want this in their Google search history or browsing history. What are we seeing?
Okay. Am I 18 years of age or older? Yes, I am of legal consenting age. Oh.
You were 18 when she was born, I bet.
Probably. And I will accept the website's uses of cookies here. Let's click accept. Military fetishist. Not enlisted, it says right there. And then it's got as featured in CBC, the Daily Mail, the Daily Hive, the Ottawa Citizen, Vice is raising morale higher than any mandatory fun day ever will. Oh my God, there's some pictures on here.
Okay, this is getting weird.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Do you want to describe anything, or is it too far?
Well, imagine the story earlier with the girl with the balloon in her thighs, bent over the chair. I just imagine everybody involved is wearing a military uniform.
And there's no balloon.
No balloon.
All right.
Yeah, anyway, I mean...
Aaron grew up today.
Yeah, I just got some more hair on my chest.
We need an icebreaker or a palate cleanser, and I got just the thing. Let's go from group sex between a sex worker and military members to Tim Hortons. This is an interesting one. This is a voice memo I got from Kara, who's an American. She has some interesting stories about visiting Canada, Halifax, I think specifically, and going to Tim Hortons. Listen to this.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. This is Kara from North Carolina. I thought I would share my Tim Hortons experience with you that I had when I was in Halifax meeting some new Canadian friends of mine in October of 2022. I'll preface this by admitting that I like Tim Hortons. Not being Canadian, I don't have a stake in it, but it seems less corporate and bland than the equivalent coffee shop we have here in the States. I won't name ours, but it rhymes with Bar Ducks. And Bar Ducks is everywhere with their corporate pumpkin spice lattes and green frappuccinos, but I'm digressing. So I went to visit my friends who I had met in an online game the year before. They live in Halifax, and they had invited me to visit for a few days. When I was there one morning, they said they were taking me to Tim Hortons. I'm like, great. I'd never been before. So we get to Tim Hortons, the place is packed. Unless they're all out of towners, someone Canadian must like this place. Anyway, I'm in line, and my friends are telling me to order a double-double and try the Timbits, and I'm digging around in my purse for loonies and toonies, trying to figure out which is which. I get to the front of the line, I order my double-double, And then I decide I need to get a souvenir from Tim Hortons to take back to North Carolina. Tim Hortons has a bunch of knitted caps with a Tim Hortons logo on it that look kind of cool. Guys, this is where I messed up. I looked at the cashier and I told her I would like to buy a toboggan. She looked like she didn't hear me, so I doubled down and repeated myself. I would like to buy a toboggan. At this point, I should say that in the southern United States, we do sometimes call the knitted winter hat that you wear on your head a toboggan. My Canadian friends inform me that that is definitely not called a toboggan in Canada, but it's called a toque. Then they told me that a toboggan is a sled, and they asked if we'd run out of words for snow-related items in the South because we don't get that much snow. A little insulting, but a fair question. I have no idea why we Southerners call a toque a toboggan, but apparently if you ask for a toboggan at Tim Hortons, they won't know what you're talking about, and also you'll be laughed at by your Canadian friends. So that's my story about Tim Hortons. Still love your show, love Canada, and I'm fond of Tim Hortons. Keep up the good work.
That was amazing, Kara.
Yeah. I don't agree with her opinion on Tim Hortons at all, but certainly the story is nice.
But she did make a good point, is comparing it to Barducks, as she calls it. It does at least feel a little less corporate, and she doesn't have a skin in the game. She's an American coming here to visit. So if you went to a Tim's and then you went to a Starbucks, I think Tim's would feel cozy and less corporate. Starbucks is like snobby to me.
Yeah, I guess. Starbucks always had tried to be the kind of hip coffee shop look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tim Hortons always tried to be the good old hometown donut shop look. Although that's kind of gone away over the years, I find. But
yeah, it's just turning into like a fast food joint or something.
Tim Hortons, yeah, it just looks like a cheaper McDonald's or something.
Yeah,
like it just doesn't cut it.
In Kara's story, a toboggan. I thought she completely mixed up the words. Like for me, my whole life, a toboggan is a complicated way of saying like a sled. I've never heard of a winter hat being referred to as a toboggan. I did some Googling, and yeah, in a lot of other parts of the world, they call winter hats toboggan hats.
Okay, I can understand that if it's a toboggan hat. So it's the hat you wear when you're on a toboggan.
But I don't think it means like a tobogganing hat. I think it's toboggan hat. It's like I would call these kind of just like beanies, like just like a knitted cap without the ball thing on the top, just like a regular hat. It's like they call it a toboggan hat, a beanie. I don't know. I've never heard of it used as like when she sent me this voice memo, I thought like, oh, how cute. Like someone from the southern states doesn't even know the difference between a toboggan and a toque. But in some places, those words, I guess, are interchangeable.
Yeah, well, the toque thing is a very Canadian thing. It's not like other places in the world don't call winter hats toques. I don't think.
I don't think so either. I just Googled toboggan hat, and I just found one like question posed to Google is, what is the difference between a beanie and a toboggan hat? Beanies a beanie can be made from all kinds of material, where a toboggan hat is and can only be a knitted wool hat.
Sounds very specific.
Yeah, well, they're just describing a winter hat.
Yeah, it's a winter hat.
Interesting story, though. I like to hear people from outside of our weird Canadian bubble peeking in every so often, even if they do stumble over their words and try to order a toque in an unconventional way. But my advice to Kara would be never buy that junky souvenirs at Tim Hortons. They're just getting.
And my other advice to her would be, next time you come to Canada, we have some other coffee shops that you could try, like a Robin's coffee. You know, like if you're looking for a fast food coffee and you stumble across a Robin's, go in there instead and try their coffee.
Tell them we sent you.
Yeah, tell them KCW sent you. And they'll be like, who? And you'll be like, give me a toboggan.
Get out, ma'am. That was a fun one. I think we did. I think we did what we came here to do. We found a couple stories that helped highlight the weird, unique, unusual, and often overlooked stories playing out across Canada. We visited Seaforth, Ontario, which is a place I've never heard of. We gave everyone a reason not to enter a sexy couple contest in the Dominican Republic. And I do believe something unusual was happening in the hospital in Saskatchewan, despite your insistence that it isn't. I'm now starting to believe that you may, in fact, be in on it.
Yeah, well, you would think that because you don't trust anybody that Agent Mulder hasn't told you to trust.
That's true. And I was also thinking, like, I complain about Tim Hortons a lot with you, but I also don't like anything. So that's something I should be clear about with people is like, I do say nasty stuff about Tim Hortons, and I said some bad stuff about Starbucks tonight. You'll be hard pressed to find anything I like.
You like Value Village.
I do love Value Village. And I love a good deal.
Yeah. You love Halloween.
That's true. Yeah, I take it back. There is joy in my life.
You love guitars. You love your family to an extent.
All the way. Aaron, how dare you? My son's going to listen to this. And then he's going to tell my other son.
He's like, Dad only loves us 70%. At best.
That is not true. That is not true, my children in the future, when you grow up old enough to listen to this.
Yeah, well, they got to learn sometime.
Yeah, Uncle Aaron will tell you the truth.
That's what I'm here to do. Speak the truth. That's what Mulder would have wanted, Jordan.
That's true.
All right. The truth is out there, so let's hear it.
Let's wrap this up, buddy. We got to go find some more weird stories for next week. Our work is never done.
No. We carry the weight of the world on our back, keeping this country weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport, until next time.
Jordan, until next time.
Advocate for truth for the 2024 Weyburn Hospital crisis.
Yeah, and until next time, if I ever have a tractor driven into my house, will you help me get it out?
I think we just need to prop the building up like you would. Like the first option that they should have thought of is the one they did.
Yeah, but I think
you need
to think about it for a couple of months. I think you need to stare at the building and be like, that might work, but I don't know. Let's come back to it tomorrow. I don't know.
And then some other like guys from that town.
Right. That may be what you have to do there, but
what's going on?
It's not what I do. It's not.
That's definitely what happened.
Yeah, no.
And they all went to Tim Hortons.
I don't know. Maybe.
And they all went to Tim Hortons around the desks, around the tables, and just like talked about it.
Yeah.
For a month and a half.
Yeah. Always coming by and measuring, just kind of measuring and looking at it and staring at it. And yeah. It's we might have to do that, but I don't know. Come back tomorrow, take another look.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird, but let us also call out to you for even greater support. If something weird happens in your neck of the woods, please let us know. Also, if you have any thoughts, opinions, theories, or feedback on any of the stories we discussed tonight, we want to hear about that as well. The best way to reach us is by sending us a voice message by using the app built into nighttimepodcast.com/contact. We're excited to hear from you. Now, before we part, I want to give some thanks. First, a big thanks to Aaron for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A big shout out to the internet's favorite cult leader, Unicole, who provides the intro and outro voiceovers for this series, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. And on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed. Sophie, Yvette, and Mike, thank you for going premium. And for everyone else who'd like to support the show, you can do it in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money's used to fund the creation of the show, but the premium feed will also give you the episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of nighttime episodes. If that sounds like something you'd like, you can go premium right now at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still help support the show by simply sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know what we're doing here. We appreciate your support in this. And until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
Hello, Jordan and Average Aaron Airport. Not sure if that's correct, but it sounds about right. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, it says a lot about Average Aaron Airport that he starts so many beefs he can't remember how he insulted me. But unluckily for Average Aaron Airport, I don't forgive and I don't forget. Average Aaron Airport dissed my pronunciation of the word Donna, correct pronunciation, not as Donaire as you previously pronounced. And he's now, a one-sided vendetta has been begun. Although I have been to Canada and I agree Timmy R's is terrible. So I agree with Average Aaron Airport there. Anyway, I hope Average Aaron Airport is satisfied with how many times I've said his name. So longa!